once again, and I hope you enjoyed dinner. And once again, I'm glad you could be here as we celebrate the biggest night of the year for us here in the bowling capital of the world. And I know we've got some people here on the dais that we're going to hear from. Some year we don't know how it's going to be this year. Some years it becomes a roast, and some years it's waterfall of tears. So we'll see what transpires over the next few minutes. But we always like to start this evening after dinner, start the program by honoring our Hall of Famers. We're going to, of course, induct some new ones tonight, but we are honored by the presence of some past Hall of Famers who have been previously inducted. And before we even get to that, I want to also announce that we've actually lost 4 Hall of Famers in this past year. In fact, I think 3 of them just in the past couple of months or so. So we've lost Rose Marsh from the class of 1986, Ken Charette from the class of 1985, John Bennett from the class of 2002, and Bob Stempian from the class of 2008. So at this point, I would like to ask everybody to take a moment for a moment of silence in honor of these past Hall of Famers. Thank you very much. And now, on a much happier note, we would like to honor those Hall of Famers who have honored and graced us by being here tonight. And as we always like to do, we do it in chronological order. So every year we begin with Anita Cannaline from the class of 1967. Thank you, Anita. And then from the class of 1979, we have Tom McKay. Class of 1981, Cora Fiebig. There's Cora. And then we have 2 from the class of 1990, Terry Grant and Margaret Lewis. From the class of 1992, we have Carol Martin here tonight. And also from the class of 1992, Leona Obachowski. And from the class of 1994, we'll be hearing from him later, Mitch Jebsenski. From the class of 1997, Alita Sill. Class of 1998, Ken Kosick. From the class of 1999, we have Dorothy Thompson. And then we're going to double one up here. From the class of 1999, we have Cheryl Stipkak. And then from the class of 2016, Anthony Stipkak. They are only the 3rd husband and wife team in the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame. Congratulations. From the class of 2000, Carmen Allen is here. In the class of 2003, our association manager, Mark Martin. From the class of 2004, Jean Gebbia. And the class of 2005, Janet Dimmer. Now into the class of 2007, Virginia Austin. In the class of 2008, Libby Fletcher. And also from the class of 2008, Ken Wyatt. From the class of 2010, Novella Daniels. And also from the class of 2010, Paul Stewart is here. We have 2 from the class of 2011, Roy Biggs. And we also have Nicole Idziak-Owsley. We'll hear from her later. From the class of 2012, we have several people here. A nice representation from the class of 2012. Michelle Ewald is here. Rick Capaldi. Randy Shank. And Mark Voigt. And then from the class of 2015, Chris Sands is here. The class of 2016, Lauren Roberts is here. And also nice representation from the class of 2017, Teresa Ketchpole. Consuelo Cleveland. Marty Marshall. And Mike DeRousie. And by the way, before we get started with the formal program here, Mark Martin asked me to remind you, or at least let you know, that all 7 of the speeches given up here are going to be recorded. You can see the camera back here. We're going to be recorded. We're putting them on YouTube, and we will link to them on our association website, mdusbc.com. So give us a few days, and we'll get those uploaded and onto the association website, and you can see all the induction speeches. So thank you again to all of our Hall of Famers who come every year. It's really, it's nice to induct, but it's history. And we have a tremendous bowling history in this town, and it is so great that so many Hall of Famers come back for this night every year. It really means a lot. Just my applause to all of you for coming back every year. Really, really makes this night extra special, and it really does for the inductees. To have you all here. So with that, because I don't want their nerves to send them off the stage here or anything, we're going to get started with the program. And our first Hall of Fame inductee tonight is Nicole Edwards, and Mark has a nice little video to show us about Nicole.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. I have been wanting this for a really long time, even though this is the first year I've been eligible, but I am totally humbled and totally honored because the men and women that are in this Hall of Fame, they are ambassadors and pioneers for our sport, and the fact that I get to be a part of that now is just so special. It really feels like it's just this culmination of the last 20-some years all come together, and it's just amazing. I'm really honored, I really am. I actually started bowling around 7. That's the first memory I have of bowling. And it was at Sterling Lanes, kind of behind the Pro Shop 1 and 2. I even remember the pair. And it's a funny story because my dad took me, I bowled like a 60 game, I cried my eyes out and told my dad I never wanted to go again. So now we're here. So I fell in love with it probably around age 10 or 11, and that was at Pioneer Lanes. And my best friend and I, we bowled together, and us bowling together, our dads became very close, and our dads are still close to this day. We really fell in love with it as friends, and I think that's really what made me fall in love with bowling in general, was just the journey it's taken me on with friendships and just meeting people. I met my husband bowling, I've got my kids, my degree, so I really think that that's kind of really where it all started, and that love affair just kind of has gone on till this day. My fondest memory, I think a lot of the memories I made with my dad. You know, my dad was the one, he and I would get in the car and go to tournaments together. I have so many amazing memories of traveling and meeting different people and going to different cities with both my parents, but really my dad in particular. And I think that would be my fondest memories, is just really getting to spend a lot of time with him. I had to pull over. I'm sitting at a red light. Oh, Mark Martin sent an email. Congratulations. What? Pulled over, just overwhelmed. I was emotional. First call was my husband. The second call was my dad. You know, I had to let those two people who are so important in my life know that this was happening, because, you know, a lot of the reason that this has happened for me was, you know, my parents and, you know, the support of my family and my husband, you know, being behind me and being so supportive of me loving bowling so much, just like he does too. So yeah, it was just shocking and exciting and overwhelming. This would not be possible without my family, my parents, who just lived and breathed bowling with me. You know, my mom was the mom who, at the Pepsi tournament when we were in youth bowling, we'd go Mother's Day weekend every year. So my mom was the one who got the carnation at the bowling tournament, right? She's the one who graciously, you know, took her Mother's Day and allowed my brothers and I to go bowling. And my dad, like I said, my dad was the one who, you know, I missed the cut by 4 pins in Bay City on a Saturday, would get in the car with me, said, okay, you really want to make this cut for junior gold? And I said, I really do. Well, there's a tournament on Sunday in Cleveland, let's go. Drop my mom and my brothers off, drive to Cleveland, and then I make the cut and I qualify for junior gold. So I have these memories and these stories that I just want people to know that although, yes, this is my honor and I was the one bowling, there are so many people that were behind me that helped me, and I wouldn't be without them. So this is not just my honor, I take it as our honor because it really is something that they helped me with. So. Hi, I'm Nicole Edwards, the 2018 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame inductee.
And now it's time for Dueling Nicoles, because we have Nicole Edwards being inducted by Nicole Edwards. And Mark, do you want me to grab the plaques and things, or do you want to bring those up?
Okay, I'm getting old. Good evening. I'm excited to be here in Michigan before the snow hits. When Nick texted me in August, the news, I was beyond excited for her, that her dedication and commitment to the game was being recognized, and I was extremely honored that she chose me to introduce her. She said I guided her in the beginning of her adult career, but I just carried the flashlight and she made it down the path on her own. I first met Nicole when she was a youth and collegiate bowler. Fred had asked if I would bowl in the MJMA adult youth with her. I'm showing my age a little. I already knew her family because her younger brother, Joe, bowled with my 2 older boys at Bowl 1. So I'd spent Saturday afternoons with her dad, Sam, her mom, Jan, her grandma, Helen. Can't leave her out. So I knew what a great family she belonged to. I made my way to Royal Scott that morning in Lansing. Didn't go as planned. She missed 7 pins and I missed a lot of 10 pins. It was a short, quick trip. I followed Nicole's collegiate career at Nebraska through her parents as they celebrated her national championship. Needless to say, when Jen told our team that Nick was looking for a place to bowl after she graduated, we scooped her up. After all, she is left-handed. Teammates quickly turned to friendship. I got the little sister that I always wanted. Our teams were filled with experience and youth, which turned out to be some very successful combinations. A few things I learned in the early travel days with Nicole was that she was not a morning person, and God helped the person who woke her up first. I also learned not to use my bowling hand for high fives on the lane, for I would not be able to use it again for the rest of the day. That came from her collegiate days. I learned about her fine driving skills a few too many times. Like the state tournament in Bay City, when most of our 2 teams were sitting in a restaurant eating breakfast, and we received a call from Kim Maddie's aunt asking us where we were. Well, Nicole organized that trip and had the date and time wrong. So we did make it. We took 2 teams. And so with the snow coming down, I witnessed Nick's driving with her G6 going 95 up I-75. Arrived in one piece and ending up winning states that year. Yeah, I was. We were also educated with the cement barricades that were not the business lane, but actually the bus lanes. That was in Charlotte, where I currently live. No matter what city or what tournament, there was no one I would have rather been bowling with. From Jell-O shots to fine bottles of wine, our friendship continued, and so did our bowling. Nicole is a firecracker on the lanes, a fierce competitor with a passion for the game and a conviction for its principles. One of my favorite memories was watching her mow down the men at the Detroit City Tournament. No offense, gentlemen. She was always the one encouraging everyone to get fired up and would feed off of her intensity. Over the course of the years, I also developed a friendship with her husband, Jeff. And before they were married, I was able to bowl on a summer trio league at 5-star with them. Oh, yeah. So do you know what happens when you bowl with two fiery personalities? You become the counselor and the mediator. My kid's favorite saying to this day comes from Jeff to Nicole that summer, that the dog can bowl better than her. I don't think that's true, and I think Jeff owes you an apology. I've had a front row seat to watch them have a passion for bowling and a passion for each other. I was honored to stand up in their wedding and thrilled to see them start a family. I always knew that Nicole was destined for the Hall of Fame and was just waiting for her to hit the age of 35. So cheers to getting older, and congratulations on your achievement. I will leave you with my favorite quote from Mia Hamm that I gave my daughter as well. Somewhere behind the athlete in you somewhere behind the athlete you have become and the hours of practice and the coaches who have pushed you is a little girl who fell in love with the game and never looked back, and play for her.
Oh, yeah, can you take it from me? Thank you.
It's nice that you presented.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, my dear friend. Yes, it kind of turned into a little bit of a roast, but for the record. So I just, first of all, want to thank everybody, and first and foremost, thank the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame Committee for this honor. Being in the company of the people in this room is just so humbling. So as you've seen and you've heard, this has been really an amazing journey for me, bowling, and bowling really has shaped my life, and there's so many people that I do need to thank. So first, I want to thank people who had an impact on my youth bowling career. George Bogdan, Tom Stockton, Linda Malavolti, Sharon Shildroth, and Dan Ottman. Whether it was through coaching or running tournaments or leagues, all of you have contributed some way into my success, and I can't thank you enough for that. Dan Ottman used to say before he'd put a tough shot out on the lanes, hate me now, but thank me later. And so this is my opportunity to say thanks. And youth really prepared me for my collegiate bowling experience at Nebraska. I was so blessed that Coach Bill Straub and Coach Paul Klumpa saw something in me to give me the opportunity to come bowl with world-class teammates, to be able to travel the country and win 2 national titles. I also obtained my degree from Nebraska, which has really led my career as I came home. And when I came home to all of you. So many people in this room who I really didn't even know, and I didn't even know where to turn. Who do I bowl with? What night do I bowl? What center do I go to? And that's when my relationship with my friend down on the end really started. We bowled some adult youth together, but I remember her asking me to bowl state tournament that year, and I was so nervous, right? Going to women's states, we all know, us ladies, how women's states is. I remember being terrified of going to state tournament. If I would have known what it really was, I wouldn't have been as terrified, I don't think, but I have to tell you, I had a blast. After those first few frames, my nerves died down, and we had a great time, and we ended up winning our first title together. I can't thank you enough for being the big sister, the mentor, the friend. I'm forever grateful to everything you gave to me. I also have some teammates out there, I'm trying to keep it together, that I want to thank that are here. And these are people that I grew up looking up to bowling. I'd bowl in Dan Ottman's youth league, and I'd hear names, and one of those was Michelle Ewald. And I had the fortunate opportunity to bowl with her in leagues and in tournaments. And if you want a great teammate, that's the person you need on your team. I also had who I would call my mama on the road, Miss Sue Shakta. Sue always took care of me. As Nicole told you, I'm not the greatest person to wake up, so the person that was usually waking me up was Sue. Because how could you get mad at Sue? She is the kindest, sweetest, most generous person I know.
And I can't thank you enough for all the times we've shared together, and we still bowl together on Thursdays at Bowl One. To those who run our women's events, the entire Metro Detroit staff, the Michigan State Bowling Committee, thank you so much. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up one person in particular, and that's Miss Libby Fletcher. Libby has done so much for the game and really just shown me her passion, gives me inspiration to go out and bowl week over week, so thank you. Finally, I didn't think I was gonna cry till now, but now I'm still crying. I'd like to close in thanking my friends and family. My in-laws are here tonight, and they've been so supportive of me over the past 15 years, so thank you for that. My brothers, who got toted around the bowling center with me as I was growing up, my youngest brother is here in particular, and Joe would be in his stroller, and my mom would have to be pushing him around, and all the girls on the high school teams found him to be our good luck charm whenever we'd bowl in high school tournaments, and collegiate tournaments for that matter. So Joe, thanks for always being there. To my husband, excuse me. We met on the lanes 15 years ago. My husband and I crossed together. And I haven't looked back. We work hard, we play hard, we love hard, we have an amazing life. And I can't thank you enough for all the love and support. To my mom, thank you for everything. I was gonna tell the story, but we showed it. So my mom is the mom who is just selfless and giving. And if I'm half the mom to my boys that she was to me, they're gonna be in good shape. And then Dad, I can't thank you enough for taking me back to the bowling alley that following week. I cried, I'm sure I had a meltdown, but you still saw something in me to take that 7-year-old girl back. And to have somebody in your corner who just loves and supports you no matter what, even if you don't believe in yourself sometimes, is the greatest gift you can give someone. So again, I said it in the video, but I'll say it again. This is not my honor, this is our honor. So in closing, I would just ask everyone, some people like to say bad things about our sport, but I have to say that this sport has given me so much, and you don't know what this sport can do for someone. It can really touch your life, and it can shape your life. And with that, I just want to thank everyone, and thank again the committee. I'm very humbled and honored. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was great. Thank you so much, both of you. Our next inductee is Scott Bowersock, and he is going to be inducted by Mitch Jepsinski, but first we have a video from Mark Martin.
When I got the email saying I was inducted, I read it about 5 or 6 times, thinking it was a joke at first. And I didn't even tell anyone in my family until probably 2 days later, just to make sure it wasn't a joke. To be a member of the Detroit Hall of Fame it hasn't sunk in yet, but to be one of roughly 300 people ever inducted, once it does sink in, it's going to be probably one of the most awesome feelings in the world. About 5 years old. Yeah, I was, my older brother bowled, and I think my mom wanted me to get out of the house to give her a break because I was a terror, I guess, and started bowling at Clover Lanes. First league was probably the Bantams, probably when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I remember going from Clover Lanes over to Mayflower, and I remember my mom would be up there, you know, directing the ball for me in the background, and got hooked from there. And I remember, you know, my dad taking me to the bowling alley. I'd go watch him bowl on Thursday nights and wanted the new ball every time he got a new ball. And I got asked to bowl by Vern Peterson if he wanted to join a league. And Vern, me and him were just kind of talking trash back and forth, and I shot 300, he shot 279, and he still ribs me today about that, about the strike I threw in the 8th frame. It was August 6th of 1996. Greatest accomplishment, probably winning my first city title. To get to go to the awards banquet, that was pretty cool. It was Rob Shepis, good friend of mine, asked me to bowl, and we ended up bowling. I can't remember what the exact score was. We bowled real well and got the letter saying you're invited to the champions dinner. And to see other members around Detroit have their jackets, and then I was finally getting one, that was pretty cool. Looking back at my career in bowling, it means quite a bit because I've met so many great people that are great friends of mine that are current Hall of Famers, and even I bowl with people that aren't Hall of Famers. We still go out outside of bowling and have a good time. So it's the friendships that have been created. Hi, I'm Scott Bowersock, 2018 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame inductee.
And one Hall of Famer inducting another, Mitch Jepsinski, is going to join us and induct Scott.
Doing all right? Well, I didn't write nothing down because I feel like I want to say something from my heart. I met Scott Bowersock 1998. It was at Maribor. And every time he bowled against us, I watched this individual bowl and I go, oh my God, this guy throws it so pure, it's unbelievable. And he was 24 years old. And I started talking to him and we became, old buddies. Every time he bowled him, I kind of couldn't wait because he had 3 lefties on his team and I knew he couldn't break my shot down, so I kind of enjoyed it. But every time he bowled, he always beat the crap out of me. So I told him, I said, listen, if you decide to ever find a team, if you want to bowl, when we go to Plaza, I said, you're on my team. He came, we've been bowling together for 18 years. I've watched his accomplishments, I've watched him bowl. Christ, the 4,300 games, I probably saw 20 of them. The 800s, I've seen half of them. He's like a son to me. My wife and I just love him to death. It's just an unbelievable bowler to watch him. When he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, I wanted to do this because he's really changed my life. Bowling just become just associate with a lot of friends that they're at this table to bowl with and everybody else. And he's just a great friend. It's like a son. Scott, welcome to the Hall of Fame, the family.
Thank everyone for being here tonight. This has been the most humbling experience of my life. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for giving me this honor to be here in front of everyone tonight. It's pretty cool. It's sunk in finally. Thanks to Mark Martin, Mike DeRousie, Libby Fletcher, Anita, all the girls at the office, and the volunteers around Detroit. Without you, none of us would be here tonight. So thank you for doing what you do for Metro Detroit Bowling. I would also like to congratulate Nicole, Edwin, Larry. We're the class of 2018 for the rest of our lives, so we're tied together. So I got a great group that I'm going in with. I've been fortunate to bowl with a lot of great bowlers, a lot of great people. My father's here from Florida. He got me really into the game, and he used to tell me to bend my knee, reach for the head pin, and when I have a bad game, he'd say, hey, everyone that does what they do always struggles, so there's always tomorrow. And he still teaches me that today. Every time I have a bad game, miss a spare, hey, next frame, go get him. If he can figure out my golf swing, also, I have a lot of friends here tonight. Eddie Mintz, me and him won a lot of titles together. and I hope to win a lot more with Eddie. Love the guy to death. Got a title with Kenny Wyatt. Kenny had 825 one night in doubles. I had like 690. That was the easiest title I ever got. So some of those gray hairs Kenny has are for me. All the Mitches and Eddies are for me. Scott Williams, been drilling my bowling balls for 20 plus years. A lot of people probably know Scott from Taylor Lane's Pro Shop. He's been a great friend. I think he still drills my stuff because the Italian ice place at the end of the street, he makes me grab one on the way over. But he drills out of his garage. He sells real estate now, but still takes the time to drill my stuff. So if anyone needs a house, I got an in. I bowl with a lot of great Hall of Famers that are friends of mine. Nick Wissinger, Larry Walker, Dave Tulak. Those guys used to call me Thursday before the All-Stars. Hey, we're meeting here for dinner. Come and join us. And looking back on it, they were all Hall of Famers. And now that next time they call, now I can say that I'm a Hall of Famer too. And that's just an incredible feeling to be going out with those guys. And they're all class individuals. We lost a close friend of ours this year, bowled with us on Wednesdays for a few years. A lot of people know him from Lou Ann Sarah's tournaments. We lost Mike Chapman. Chappie's a great guy. We missed you. We wish you were here, Chappie. Mike Marceau. I was 17 years old, and he took a chance on a 17-year-old punk kid. 27 years later, we're still bowling together. Yep, Mike had more hair when we first started. Way more, but yes. Mark and Joe O'Connell, bowling encyclopedias. They know every cover stock, every drill pattern. They knew the barometric pressure if someone shot a 300 game. But great guys, love them to death. Roy Biggs, me and Roy have traveled the state together. We traveled through an ice storm, and we were driving one day, and that car was swaying back and forth. And I go, Roy, there's something wrong with the car. And as soon as I said that, we saw a car flipped over. And Roy goes, I think we should probably stop for breakfast. I go, probably a good idea. And I still have Roy's fingernail prints in my armrest to this day. Then Mitch. Like you said, we met at Mary Bowl. 2 years later, I gave him a call. And I couldn't believe I was bowling with the Polish Prince. We won a lot of titles together. We won a lot of money. We lost a lot of money. But always had a good time. And one time we were going to get I was going to a snack bar. I said, hey, Mitch, you want something to drink? He goes, yeah, grab me a Coke. So I grabbed a Coke, grabbed him one. He goes, which one's mine? I wrote down HOF. He goes, what's that? I go, Hall of Fame. He came back the next frame after I threw my shot, and mine had FHOF. I go, what's that for? He goes, Future Hall of Fame. And I go, you're out of your mind. Well, 20 years later, I'm here, and he's a big reason for it. So I love you to death, Mitch. Like I said, when I got that letter from Mark, I couldn't believe it. But now that I've been elected to the Hall of Fame, it's sunk in. And thank you all for being here. Thank the committee. And I look forward to coming in next year to welcome in the class of 2019. Thank you.
A word from the MC. Jokes about hair. Yeah. I forgot to put that ground rule in at the beginning of the night. All right, our third Hall of Famer to be inducted tonight is Edwin Peart, and Mark has another nice video.
Now that I'm elected and inducted into the Hall of Fame, it means so much to me. It's a sense of relief that I've been recognized for my accomplishments. It's something that my family, my son, my wife, my brother and sister can really kind of hang their hat on, and it kind of gives meaning for for all of those family functions that I missed, to know that, hey, he was doing it for a reason, and actually he was pretty good at it. Well, I used to go with my father. My father used to bowl in the league, in a couple of leagues, postal leagues at Lucky Strike. So I used to follow him there, and then I used to keep score for some of them, and then it just naturally became a part. I was in the youth league at Lucky Strike lanes and at the Bowlerdrome on Dexter, formerly on Dexter. Well, it wasn't always automatic scores. You used to have to manually keep score with the, we used to have some cellophane scores with the, you know, the depiction of the games, and you would learn to keep score the right way. You know, a spare is 10 plus whatever you get on the next ball, and so forth and so on. So yeah, we used to keep score for the leagues for a quarter apiece. We used to get a quarter from each bowler, and that's kind of $2.50 a night was quite a bit. So. Oh wow, that would be hard to describe as just the one greatest memory. Obviously winning an ABC title, being named a member of the Strohs team, but also bowling with some of the great bowlers that I've been able to bowl with, and also being a part of the TNBA, winning 2 Bill Rodman tournament championships. So all of those collectively, but one in particular, I would say winning an ABC title, because very few people have an eagle, but I can't diminish those other accomplishments. So I was on the Strohs beer bowling team from 1970, the 1979-80 season, and I bowled with them for 4 seasons. At the time that I bowled with them, we used to get paid to bowl on the team. And the reason we got paid is because we bowled in the leagues, but we also traveled every weekend, virtually every weekend, about 35 weekends out of the year, to the 18 states where they marketed Strohs. So I was approached by then Captain Harry Campbell to bowl on the team. During my time with Strohs, I had some tremendous teammates, obviously Harry Campbell, Rocky Graziani, Bob Chamberlain, Bill Spargo, Mike Samardzija, some of the greatest bowlers from the area over the years. But yes, during those times there was some great times. We won my first season with Strohs. We won the ABC team championship that following year in about April or May of 1980. And I was fortunate to lead the team. One of my highlight moments was I had the first 9 and shot 279. So that was one of the moments that stood with me. But there were also, because of the social time, some moments that weren't as friendly, I'd say, but still we got through them, and we got through them as a team and as a result of Harry Campbell's leadership at the time. So I would just like to say it's important. There were a lot of years in between there where, I was doing a lot of what I'll call city bowling or urban bowling that all of the time doesn't get recognized. So it's great to be a part of that, because at least from my standpoint, I think it's very important to recognize those bowlers as well, and all of the accomplishments that happen there. It's certainly nice to be personally recognized, but I tell you, I've been a pretty good bowler over the years, but there are so many bowlers in those types of situations and in that environment that are really exceptional as well, possibly some that are even more talented than me, and I just wanted to publicly recognize that. Oh wow, I can tell you, as far as what the future holds for me in bowling, I'm considered a veteran now, and fortunately with the benevolent sponsorship of Lou and Sarah, there are a lot of senior bowling tournaments, the Senior Singles Open, which I've been fortunate to win one of those, but I plan to continue to bowl in those, and I'll continue to bowl and be active in that, as well as in my TNBA with the Bill Rodman Classic, as well as the tournaments that they sponsor. So it's a good time to be a senior bowler. And so I'm looking forward to continuing. Hi, I'm Edwin Peart, 2018 Greater Detroit Bowling Association Hall of Fame inductee.
And here to induct Edwin is Edwin L. Peart.
Like a ledge here? Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. First, I want to say congratulations to the 7 people being awarded today. I think you all are very deserving of it, and I am truly happy for you. So, congratulations. I'm happy, excited, and honored to be presenting one of the 4 Hall of Fame inductees, who is a talented bowler and also my dad. So, bowling is a staple in our family. I remember growing up in Southfield, at Southfield Bowl, just running up and down the lanes. I used to keep score, so a lot of you probably remember those times. And although my mom and I don't bowl anymore, bowling is still deeply ingrained in us, and we kind of live vicariously through my dad now, because he still bowls and bowls a lot. So growing up, I have always been in awe of my dad's talent for a few reasons. One, his talent has never wavered, and it stood the test of time. And I thought about it, I was like, wow, he has bowled with, competed against, and been a contender in 3 generations, which I think is pretty phenomenal. You know, the generation before you, your generation, and then like millennials. And I just think that's amazing, you know, right, and to still be a contender. But also competing in a time and helping break down barriers for not just city bowlers, but also bowlers of color, having bowled in a time where I feel like your skin color was more of a determinant of where you could bowl. So I think that is pretty impressive. And when you combine those things together, I think it speaks to the influence that you've had on the sport. And you know, there are so many times where I go to the mall and it's like, oh, are you related to Neil Peart? I'm like, no, I'm not related to the drummer. Oh, are you related to Edwin Peart, the bowler? Like, yeah, that's my dad. Oh, yeah, my father used to bowl with your dad. Is he still bowling? I'm like, he absolutely is, and still doing it. And generally, it's more so about, you know, maybe, oh yeah, 20 years ago, and like, yeah, he's still doing it in 2018. So in the name of brevity, I am proud of you. I think you're a great role model, and I think I speak for all of us in the room when I say that you are very deserving of this award. And you're going to keep bowling, and you're going to keep doing it really well. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, son. I was supposed to have a speech? Don't worry, this shouldn't take but about maybe 35, 45 minutes. But wow, the Hall of Fame. And when I look out there, you know, we started at the bottom, but we're here, huh? How about that? But I'm feeling so many ways, and I've felt so many ways over the past several weeks when I first got the notification from Mark. I feel honored, grateful, humbled, proud. I'm proud of my accomplishments and what I've contributed to the game of bowling. Reflective, and I'll go over some of those reflections in a second, but mostly thankful. Mostly thankful. I would like to first and foremost, I thank God for all that God has done, instilling the talent, honoring me with health for longevity, and I have been sick a couple of times over the years, but also for perseverance and the temperament that God put inside me that was necessary to endure some of the things that a Hall of Fame career requires. So, and that has lasted over the last 40 years or so. Second, I'm thankful for my family, my wife, my son, my brother and sister, who, like I think I said on the tape there, when you do what we do, and we all do it, you miss a lot of family functions. You miss a lot of birthdays. You miss a lot of anniversaries. And so it requires a lot of the times for your family to understand that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So as I reflect on my journey that has, led me to this great honor, I just can't help think about and to thank all of those black bowling trailblazers that have come before me, because without them and standing on their shoulders, there's no way that I would be here today. They've helped prepare me, and in many cases, they've advised me, and so to make sure that I would be ready if and when an opportunity came in front of me, that I would be prepared for that. So, and I'm speaking of bowlers like Bill Rodman, John Barnhill, Bobby Williams, Lavolia Brown, Hall of Fame Lavolia Brown, Yvonne Barnes, Lafayette Allen, Hall of Famer, Chuck Walker, and so many others that if I tried to name them all, I just wouldn't have the time. These are all bowlers with great talent that have in some way instilled something inside of me. But there are also other bowlers that were trailblazers as well, and just because they didn't necessarily have the superior and exceptional talent did not make them any less of trailblazers and did not make them any less impactful on me. And I'm talking about people like Roosevelt Bell, Cliff Crane, Vernon Flowers, Lavert English, and others who have also been so impactful on me. I think in my first adult league, of which my mother had to write a note for me to bowl, because I was 16, maybe 17, I bowled with Vernon Flowers. So he's been with me through my entire journey, and thank you, Vernon. So now I just want to quickly talk about how my journey and love affair with bowling started and how it kind of continued through the years. So as we saw there, I started at the age of 8. At this time, my brother and I was 8, my brother's 4 years older than me, he was 12. We used to catch 2 buses to get to the bowling alley. We had to, spend 30 cents, 25 cents to get on the bus and 5 cents for a transfer. And we used to travel about 4.5 miles. And so I was thinking about that the other day. I was 8, he was 12. So either that says a lot about the safety of the times for us to get on a bus, or it says something about what in the heck was our parents thinking about to send these people out, these 2 little kids out. But we did that for a couple of years. And I really wanted to thank my brother because I'm the one that really fell in love with bowling. Come to find out when I reflect on it, he was probably just doing it to make sure that I continued to do it. So, Ronnie, I want to thank you for that. So around the age of 14 is when my love really began to surface. I used to bowl at a place called the Bowlerdrome, and Hall of Famer Boley Brown used to allow me to come in there and practice for as long as I wanted because I didn't have the 35 cents a game to bowl. So I'd bowl for hours. And then I'd have to go home. I'd walk 3 or 4 blocks home because my father said you had to be home by 6 or 7 to eat. And then I would walk again back up there to practice again. So that was something that was impactful on me as well. And then at 16, maybe 16 or 17, I became a part of a bowling crew that was just phenomenal, and we did quite a few successful things together. This crew, I call it a crew because we traveled around the city, we traveled around mostly the Midwest, but a lot of parts of the country, and it consisted of Reggie Denard, David Chappelle, and a year or 2 later, a young Gerald Johnson.
You guys probably know him as Stroker. That's his trade name. And he's accomplished so much that he'll be up on this podium very, very soon. If you don't know him, I'm surprised that you don't. You know, and when I've reflected back on that, you know, I didn't realize it, but we had an agent. This guy used to kind of help us set up matches and things like that. We won so much. We just like Scott, we lost as well sometimes, but we had a very high percentage, and it was, our agent was Lionel Williams. This guy would set up matches, you know, and we'd be, you know, a lot of gambling and different things like that bowlers do. I mean, that's just what bowlers do. So we were very successful, and a lot of it was because of his handicapping. So then came the Detroit All-Star Classic. Now is really when the fun started. So at that time, the All-Star Classic, team bowling was at such a phenomenal time where it was so important. It was more important than individual singles tournaments. I mean, the team atmosphere was just something else. And we bowled, you know, it was traveling for a while, but there were two main venues. One was at Thunder Bowl in the arena, which was just an absolutely fantastic place. And the other was Orchard Lanes that was run by, God bless his soul, John Bennett. And the number of spectators that used to come out to support us was just phenomenal. So when I first got into the All-Star Classic, me, David, Reggie, Bobby Williams, Oliver Mabry bowled in the league. And in 1976, I led the league in average, and it was just a phenomenal time because those last 5 to 10 weeks, it was very close, but it was close only between a couple of bowlers, me and my future teammate, Bob Chamberlain. And every week after the league, I mean, people were computing the averages to see what the deal was, who was, you know, leading. It was going back and forth, and I finally won in the, you know, the last week or two. I finally ended up winning, and it actually ended up in a 219.32 tie. But after the last night of bowling, and they computed it, it was pretty clear that everyone in the league was pretty sure that I had won it. So now we go to the next level of my career, which was the Stroh's Beer Team. So, and the impact of this selection during the social times of the 1970s was just eye-opening, to say the least. And I really didn't realize at the time the responsibility that came with it and the actual impact that it was having, not only on the city, but the country as well. So I remember the headline was on the second page of the Free Press, and it said, Ed Peart becomes the first black bowler on Stroh's in 45 years. So, and I still have it at the house, but you know, it's so impactful to remember that and the impact that it had, you know, on the city and on the bowling world. So I'm going to just shift just for a second. And the good thing about that is now they talk about, you know, at that time we were talking about a black bowler, but now there are bowlers that have superior talent. I'm talking about bowlers like Ronnie Sparks Jr., Mason Brantley, Kenny Rogers, Jordan Horns, and the good thing about it is that they're not known as black bowlers, they're just known as bowlers, so, which is a phenomenal thing. So again, the time when I was bowling, the support that I got from the community, I mean, this arena used to be just absolutely packed. It was always packed because people wanted to come and watch everybody in the league, but the additional support that we got from the black community, not only for me on Stroh's, but we also had a couple of, well, there was one in particular black team in the league. So, I mean, people were just coming to watch us bowl. So it made me feel like there's the support that the community gave was just phenomenal, and it helped just rise you. It kind of reminds me of a phrase from a song by an existing artist that's out there now. His name is Young Jeezy, and he's got a line in one of his songs that says, "They wonder how it happened, but it was perfect timing. How could I lose? I've got the whole city behind me." And that's how it felt when I was out there. I'd be sitting in the boulders area, and you look back, and you just see the people that were just rooting for you and, everything. And it just, you knew that because of the responsibility that was on your shoulders that you just had to succeed. And fortunately, I did. So I would just like to also thank Harry Campbell, and God bless his soul as well. This is a guy that I knew that was fair and courageous. He was courageous to make the selection of a young black kid to come on the team to be the first black in 45 years. At that time, and all through Stroh's history, they were known for acquiring the absolute best bowlers in the country or around the area. If you listen to some of these names, Labansky, Hennessy, Samardzija, Strampy, Bob Kowalik, Dave Sutar, and Edwin Peart. So Harry was also what I would consider to be a very smart man, for no other reason but for making this selection of me to be on the team. And it proved to be the right choice as we proceeded to win, ABC titles. We finished third the following year, losing by 7 pins. But I would also like to thank, at the time, my Stroh's teammates, because we've already talked about the social times, but my teammates just made it so much easier in a lot of situations. My teammates were Bob Chamberlain, Bill Spargo, Tom Vallone, Randy Pierce, and the one specifically I'd like to thank is my teammate who, when he got on the team, thank goodness he was younger than me, which meant he had to carry the uniforms. And it's Bob Basacci. And Bob Basacci himself is a 2-time ABC winner, so I'm sure he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. He won the team title with us, but he had also won the All Events the previous year, so he was a back-to-back ABC winner. But the reason I wanted to thank him is, when we left on Friday to go to these tournaments, by the time I got back on Sunday, I hadn't seen anybody that looked like me. And so, but there was always a lot of idle time. And me and Basacci used to go to the bars, and we'd sit up there, and sometimes because the social situation wasn't as friendly, we'd have to sometimes, on 2 or 3 or 4 occasions, kind of tussle our way out of there. And he was always ready to do that. It looked like he went in there ready to do it. So I love him. We room together. We socialize together. We just haven't seen each other in a few years, but that's going to change soon. But as I close, I'd just like to say that this isn't my first Hall of Fame selection. It's the Greater Detroit Hall of Fame selection, but my agent, Dad Williams, has been calling me a Hall of Famer for 20 years, and so Dad, it's finally happened, so thank you. So before leaving, I just wanted to also thank the Greater Detroit Bowling Association under the leadership of Mark Martin. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and I would also like to say, although this is an individual award and I'm accepting it, I'm really accepting on behalf of everybody that has supported me over the years. Congratulations to all the inductees that are going in with me, and God bless you all, and good night.
That was absolutely beautiful. Boy, that's really something, and thank you for being the trailblazer that you are. And now not only minorities, but we have women that are participating in this sport more than ever, and winning national tournaments, et cetera. I mean, the sport has changed a lot over the past 50 years, and you're one of the ones that have helped move that forward. So thanks very much, Edwin, and congratulations. Congratulations. All right, our last Hall of Fame inductee is Larry Paladino, and this is somebody that I call colleague, because he is somebody who has covered bowling in this town for a long time. And so we're going to start with a nice video from Mark, and then we will formally induct Larry into the Hall of Fame.
The closest I ever had to an honor score was a 300, but it was a 300 triplicate. It was in the John Gavey tournament over here. I had a 100 game and then another 100, and then I blew it in the 9th frame. I got a spare and wound up with a 112. I mean, I could have tried to get 100, but I didn't want to do that. So I'm one of those guys who tries to break 100 and then every once in a while gets up into the 160s. Well, when I was, I don't know, about 8 years old, I remember bowling at Bullcraft Lanes on Schoolcraft and I think Evergreen. And our team finished in first place. That was my first trophy and my only trophy. My dad used to take me with him all that he bowled. He joined the Knights of Columbus, I think so he can bowl and golf, you know. And so I used to go with him and fall asleep. I think it was Argyle Lanes. And he'd bowl all night, and no matter how noisy it was, I'd fall asleep. When I was a kid, when we had the Eagles Club, I had a little printing press, and I used to print these newspapers, and I'd put bowling in the newspapers, you know, what everybody bowled and everything. But when I went to college, I didn't realize that really journalism was kind of what I wanted to do. I was at the Associated Press for a dozen years, and I left in '79. Soon I started writing for the Detroit News as a freelancer, and I did that for 10 years as the bowling writer. I wish that I could write features that I could have easily come up with. I mean, I would have come here all the time, and just every bowler has some kind of story, you know. Hi, I'm Larry Paladino, 2018 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame inductee.
And I'm pleased to say we have another Hall of Famer on Hall of Famer induction, Rick Strobel from the class of 2001. It's going to induct Larry.
Larry, there's so many things here, I can't bring them all up. So.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
By the way, Mark's list did not have your name on it, so I apologize when I do this to Hall of Famers.
Hello, everybody. Mark said to read the cue cards. There is a high-pressure front coming up, pushing warm air into the Detroit area. That's the wrong cue cards. I think those are Paul Gross's cue cards.
A lot of hot air.
Okay. If you go over to the bar, and the bar will be available pretty soon, you'll notice that there's no Dos Equis beer over there, and that's not very good because we have the most interesting man in the room right over here. And that's really saying something because there's so many interesting people here, some not so interesting. I see that Tom McKay's here tonight. Hi, Tom. Okay. What we have here is a Hall of Fame journalist, all right, spanning many, many generations. He looks in great shape. He's 105 years old, all right? Worked for the Associated Press, Detroit News, Detroit Free Press, editor of the Tigers Yearbook for 10 years, all right? Many magazines, Bowler's Digest, all right, the Bible of 10 Pins, all right? And during those years, he's met many, many interesting people. If you go to his basement, it looks more like the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's had it done recently, autographed pictures of Ted Williams, Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle, all the 68 Tigers. He was 55 in 68. Do the math, all right? Everything displayed, all the magazines he has that he was involved in, some he involved me in or whatever. there was one magazine hanging, there was a Playboy magazine hanging up there, and features Larry Paladino. I'll let him explain that a little bit later, all right? But one thing you don't know about Larry is he's a very, very good baseball player. And he plays with many players fraction of his age. And he can put the bat on the ball. He makes contact. He never strikes out. And then I bowled with Larry, and I think he kind of figured out that he doesn't strike out either in the game of bowling. Right? But what we really have to thank Larry for is all the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on in the world of publishing. And he's a very, very modest man, and he's not going to really let me get away with it, but he really battled to keep bowling in the headlines of the Detroit News and the Free Press and his work with the Associated Press, because it was a time where they were diminishing the game of bowling. And everybody remembers Doug Bradford's full page, Detroit News, they used to give it to him, but it was changing times, and it took Larry Paladino, his efforts to keep bowling in the newspapers. And I think that is one thing we really have to thank him for. He's a great friend, he's a great journalist, and he's certainly a great and deserving Greater Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame member. Larry Paladino, everybody. Here is your plaque, your patch, your button, more stuff down there. Once again, Larry Paladino, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I just have a few things here. Thanks, Rick. You know, Strobel's into every sport there is. This season, he finished 4th in his National Fantasy Curling League. He has jerseys of countless athletes. His most cherished one is that of Larry Beeve Luckenbill, a legend in the world of quoits. Rick tried to coach me in bowling one day, and he said, "See the ball, be the ball." It didn't work. Breaking 100 usually was my goal back when I was a kid. I got my only trophy at Bowlcraft Lanes, which you heard on the tape, then open bowled at Strathmore and Grandmont, while my father was bowling honor scores at Argyle and my mother at Grand Central Recreation, my Uncle John Sabo's house. I can't thank Rick for turning me into a bowler, but I must thank the Hall of Fame panel for according me this honor. I owe this also to the entire bowling community, particularly those who helped to mentor and to introduce me to so many in the sport. John Gavey, Ken Charette, George Pribla, Diane and Mark Voigt, Adeline DiBiase, Tom McKay, Mark Martin, Al Harrison, and especially Matt Fiorito. We lost Gavey, Pribla, Harrison, and Fiorito, plus most recently Charette and Rose Marsh, and 2 others that were mentioned tonight, all local legends. They epitomize the love of bowling and its traditions. And of course, I have to thank my family, my wife Marilyn, daughters Sherry and Lisa. For years, had to put up with someone who usually was working during family functions, swim meets, soccer games. At least in later years, I was able to go to the many games and events of our grandkids, Anthony, Dominic, Natalie, Nicholas, Christian, Cameron, and Samantha. And thank you, son-in-law Scott, for nominating me, and son-in-law Rob for raising such fine children. And now I want to apologize for all the stories that I wasn't able to write. If I had the vehicle, I could have pumped out countless features on bowlers, be they stars or just lovers of open bowling. Mostly at the news, I was limited to a notes column once a week with some event coverage and occasional feature. At least I had an opportunity to write some significant features in Bowling Digest magazine, which is now defunct, and newspapers are quickly becoming an anachronism. But the bowling industry is doing its best with ventures into new media. As time goes by, perhaps bowling will get its just due. But it's not publicity that drives the sport, it's the love of it. Bowlers may work 2 jobs, bring up large families, suffer health issues, personal problems, but bowling gives them a respite from it all. Fun, camaraderie, a time away from the daily grind. Hey, a 115 mystery game winner may feel as good about his or her $25 prize as one who just won a tournament. A lousy bowler might have just converted a 7-10 split or gotten a strike in the final frame to give his team a big victory. One day soon we'll be transported to the lanes in a driverless vehicle. Maybe a robot will deliver food from the snack bar. But nobody but you is going to roll that ball down the lane. See the ball, be the ball. And high fives are going to come with real emotion from real people. And that's why bowling will never fade into the sunset of the futuristic 21st century. Perhaps the next journalist deemed to have provided meritorious service to bowling will be a blogger or a podcaster. It surely will be someone who never touched a typewriter or ran to find a payphone to file a story on deadline. When I write stories about my bad baseball team, it's filled with jokes. So I guess I have to add something here that's funny. So I'll turn to Will Rogers. He said, never slap a man who's chewing tobacco. Always drink upstream from the herd. But most importantly, never miss a good chance to shut up. And as for Rick's story about Playboy magazine, it was just when I was in Vietnam, we had a visit from the Playmate of the Year, Joe Collins, 1965. And when we got off our helicopters, she was at the helicopter pad to greet us. And the company and their entourage said to the company commander, this is Miss Collins, would you greet her for the company? And he says, no, I can't do that. One of my men has to do that. So he says, Paladino, take care of this for me. So I had to give her this big kiss that, and then Playboy took a picture of her autographing a picture, and that was in Playboy, but they didn't identify who I was. So.
All right, after hearing the story of Larry's bowling, I'm not going to complain anymore. I mean, I cover the sport just like Larry, and I've been stuck for years at 299. I look in the program and I see all these, 40 300s and all the 800s. I'm still stuck in the 740s. I'm never complaining again. We're never complaining again. All right, so congratulations to all of our inductees, and now we have some special awards that we would like to hand out, and the first is going to be presented to Mike DeRousie, and Tom McKay will be stepping forward because this is the Tom McKay Award.
Thank you, Paul. First, I'd like to congratulate all of the members of the 2018 class of Hall of Famers. It's really interesting when some guys go up here and they really date themselves. You're talking about telescores. Some of these people don't even know what telescores were. Larry Paladino mentions about his baseball team. I assume some of your teammates are here. He sends me a copy of his stories he writes all the time. I think if they win 2 games a year, that's fantastic. Did you win any this year? One. I don't know, you guys out there, you might not be winning on the baseball field, but you got a winner with this guy. I was president of the ABC in 1992, and at that time, we had a Hall of Fame committee meeting, and George Privilis suggested that we give an award annually to somebody in my name. We give it to an individual who has made major contributions to the advancement of bowling and the bowling industry during their lifetime. If you look in your program, you can see all the recipients. This goes back to 1992, and many of them are here tonight. I'd like each of those people to please stand. Let's give them a real hand. These are the people that have really made Detroit area bowling capital of the world. They're the real promoters of the game in our area. Now this year the committee makes the decision every year. The name, it's in my name, but only because George proposed it that way, and I'm very honored with that, of course. But the committee makes the decision every year, and this year the committee determined Mike DeRousie to be the Tom McKay winner of this award this year. Mike has been involved in bowling for many, many years. He was a league officer for years. He became a member of the board of directors of the Greater Detroit Bowling Association in 2001. He continues now. He was elected as a member of the MD-USBC. He served as the president in 2 different terms and been serving on all kinds of committees. He's also been a member of the delegate as to the state tournament every year, the state meetings every year, and to the national convention. He's a guy that's really into everything. When he does it totally first class. We're very thankful. We have a tournament every year that we raise money for the Karmanos Cancer Institute. Again, it's in my name. It used to be the Steve Crushon tournament, and Kenny Shred one year said, Steve has been gone for so long, nobody remembers him, so they renamed it in my name. Probably nobody remembers me anymore. I've been gone so long. But anyway, it's in my name, and Mike does a great job in assisting us in helping to raise money there. We'll have that tournament December the 8th at Sterling Lanes. If anybody happens to be interested in bowling in it, we'd love to have you. It's a deal to raise money. It's a real fun day for the bowlers that participate. We usually get 60, 70 bowlers participate in it, and we raise in the neighborhood of $10,000 a year. As I indicated earlier, Mike has been active in everything that he's got involved with. He does a terrific job, and his contributions have been recognized over the years. He received the GDBA Secretary of the Year Award in 2004, GDBA Director of the Year Award in 2006, Judge John D. Watts Award for promotion of our sport in 2012, and last year was elected to the Hall of Fame in the meritorious category. It's funny, Mike was on the committee, and 2 years ago he wasn't able to attend the meeting, and he was selected for the Judge Watts Award. And so last year he wasn't able to be at the meeting. He was elected to get in the Hall of Fame. He said he's not going to come any more meetings anymore. Mike, if you'll please come forward, it's my pleasure to be able to present you with this plaque in recognition of your contributions over the years.
Thank you, Tom. Well, thank you to Tom. First off, I'd like to congratulate all of our new inductees into our Hall of Fame. Welcome, all of you. Great to have you all here with us. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, which Tom mentioned. I wasn't there. I'll get into that a little bit later on as to what I was doing that day, why I wasn't there. But yeah, I've told them I don't think I'll come to any more committee meetings because when I'm not there, I win awards. So I'm grateful this year, too. I warned Rick down on the end to be careful down there. If you were here last year, you know I fell off the edge over there. So now they've got me nice and safely seated in the back there where I won't fall off. You know, this is a great honor to receive. I pulled out last year's form, and as Tom was talking about, I went over some of the names that were on there, and it is just overwhelming to me to look through those names and think I'm part of that. You know, it just, when I first started getting involved in this, I never thought that, you know, someday I'd be up here receiving the Tom McKay Award. It's just so much to me. Especially to get it from Tom. You know, when you talk about a lifetime of service to bowling, that's the ultimate man to get it from Tom.
When I started bowling in leagues, I was just young. I was probably 10 years old, and I was bowling at Monte Carlo Lanes, which was owned by Al Winkle at those days. Now, these days, many years later, I'm bowling at Woodland Lanes, which is being managed by Tom and Gary Winkle. So, things just go around, come right back again. In the interim, in between, I bowled at Henry Mistley's houses for a long time. Vicki was our manager for a number of those years. I was at Beach Lanes, and I got asked, would you like to be a house rep? And I said, well, what's involved in that? And they said, well, you're the liaison between the bowlers and the association office. I said, well, okay, that sounds all right. So I filled out the application, and then I heard from the office and said, well, how would you like to be on the board of directors instead? Well, what's involved in that? Well, you come to a couple meetings a year. Yeah, you've all heard that one, right? Yeah. Come to a couple meetings a year, that's all you have to do. So now all these years later, going through, I'm going to try to get to, we'll be doing our taping for the bowling showcase coming up. Usually they've got me doing the scorekeeping because I'm old enough to remember how to do that manually instead of using the automatic scores. I've had some great role models along the way, with Mark Martin and Libby Fletcher showing me the way on how we do things in the association office. The one thing in closing I'd like to remind everyone, I brought this up last year and I'm going to do it again. As I said, I wasn't at the meeting, and that's because my other thing that I volunteer with is I'm a senior Medicare counselor. So I go around to different senior centers and I help seniors with their Medicare choices this time of year. Tomorrow starts open enrollment, so all of you seniors out there who are on Medicare, starting tomorrow till December 7th is open enrollment. Make sure you take a look at your prescription plans. I helped a friend of mine get signed up back in April. She turned 65, and I just talked to her last week, and one drug that she has is being dropped off of the plan that she's on come the end of the year, and if she didn't come see me and we looked at it, come January, she'd be paying $100 each month for that drug, but instead we'll find her a new plan to start in January, and that drug will only be $25 a month. So that's why you have to take a look every year in between tomorrow, October 15th, and December 7th, review your prescription plans and make sure that starting in January, you don't get a big surprise when you go to the pharmacy. So thank you for this award. I really appreciate it.
Well, congratulations, Mike, and as I said to Mike privately, very, very well deserved, so just what a great honor for you. Our next honor is the Judge John D. Watts Award, and the Judge John D. Watts Award for many years was presented by His Honor Judge David Chmura, but I think he is being, is this permanent? We have the Honorable Judge John Chmura from 37th District Court here. Is this a permanent role for you? That's what I'd like to know. So is this the audition? The audition and the interview? Well, the screen test. Well, this should be pretty easy for you because our honoree is very well deserving as well, and that's Vera Johnson. So please come on up, Judge, and it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you for having me here, Paul, and I guess I should thank Judge David Chmura, with whom I've been friends for many years, and I'm not exactly sure why he asked me to come and pinch hit for him this evening because I'm no bowler. Now, I like the sport. I've been bowling for many years, but if you look at my average, you'll note that it's about the same as what I shoot after 18 holes of golf. Really can't tell the difference. But I've enjoyed it for many years, and maybe that's why Dave asked me to be here tonight, other than the fact that I happen to live in the city of Warren. But I've been bowling for a long time. I remember when I was very little, my father would take me to watch him bowl, and he bowled at the Shane Trombley bowling alley. And that was quite an experience to see him there many years ago. In fact, I even met, many years later, Joe Paulus through the Detroit Athletic Club, and that was something to see. And as I got older, I continued to bowl. As I went through junior high school, I bowled here in Bonanza Lanes. And then after that at Arc Sterling, while I was in high school, and had the distinction there of almost getting kicked off the league because I kicked the housing where the ball return came back after I missed a spare, and I guess you're not supposed to do that. So they got angry at me with that and almost kicked me off, and that was quite a fiasco. As time went on, I went to Michigan State, and I took a bowling class there, which told me how bad I really was. Took some time off when I went to law school, came back after law school and joined the Detroit Athletic Club, and I've been bowling there at the Friday 5 o'clock league for 24 years. And I have the distinction there of just barely missing a Dutch 200. I was 10th frame and I needed the strike, and I missed it, of course. So that kind of sums up my bowling career. Like the Bob Uecker of bowling. That's kind of the way I am. But nevertheless, I'm glad to be here this evening to present this award to Vera Johnson. Vera is quite a bowler, as I came to understand. She has been bowling for many years and is very well known in the area. She, of course, is getting this award because of her outstanding contributions to the promotion of the sport of bowling. She's been doing it for a long time. Many people come to her for advice as to how to start leagues. She's started many, many leagues in the area. She served as the manager of the Community Bowling Center for 10 years. She's a member of the National Bowling Association. In fact, in 2014, she was awarded the Secretary of the Year of the TNBA, and that's quite an honor. She also, I understand, started the senior division tournament of the TNBA, and I was a little disappointed, Vera, when you told me about that, because you said in order to be in that tournament, at least in terms of age, you had to be 55 years or older, which means I now am qualified. Couldn't you raise it a little bit, maybe? I think 55 is a little young to be a senior, isn't it? At least I think it is. She currently bowls at the Plum Hollow Community Center, and she is the chair of the trustees for the Morning View Baptist Church when she's not bowling. In her spare time, she reads and likes to travel. So it is my honor and my privilege to present to you, Vera, I guess you're supposed to come up at this point, first time here, the Judge John D. Watts Award. Congratulations.
Good evening, and thank you, John. I'd like to congratulate 2018 all the Hall of Famers. Good luck. And it is an extreme pleasure to be included with outstanding bowlers to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in recognition of promoting the sport of bowling. My mentor, Muriel Fagan, started me bowling in all of USBC tournaments and trained me on how to be a league officer. At the age of 90, Muriel is still bowling and giving me instruction when we bowl together. At this time, I would like to recognize Muriel. Would you just wave your hand or stand? Okay, thank you. I am the only person that bowls in my family. Okay, USBC and the National Bowling Association, TNBA, are in partnership, and in order to receive an honor award from TNBA, you must be a USBC member. In 2014, I won TNBA Queen for Metro Detroit, making history as the first queen to win in Detroit. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me for this award. A special thanks to Mark and Diane Boyd for nominating me. Also to my family and friends, Detroit Bowling Senate, that's part of TNBA, for coming out to support me. Thank you.
Congratulations, Vera. Well deserved, well deserved. Our final award for the night is, to me appropriately, the one to kind of end the program. It's the George Pribola Industry Award, and this award is for making outstanding contributions to the sport of bowling as a center owner and promoter. And the reason I like to see this one done last is because, listen, our bowling centers is where it all begins. I mean, we get these kids starting bowling and having fun, and it becomes a lifelong sport and a lifelong passion, something they can do well into their years, as we just heard. So this is really a good way to end the program. And so JoAnn Taylor is going to be honored, and we'd like to invite my friend Vicki Ingham to come on up and, not induct, but to honor JoAnn and present her with her award. Let's see. Oh, let me get the...
Hi, everybody. Congratulations to all the inductees tonight. Everyone, very, very deserving. You brought up some really good memories for everybody tonight. I'm here to present the George Pribola Industry Award that goes to a bowling center manager or owner. In this case tonight, JoAnn Taylor is both of those things. If anybody knew George, it's a great award. It's so special because George loved the bowling business. Loved the bowling business, and he really loved the bowlers. I think that's what you think of when you think of JoAnn. Tonight's recipient fits this description perfectly. She is a great manager and a great owner. You can't think of the Hamtramck singles without thinking of JoAnn, and you certainly can't think of Hazel Park Bowl without JoAnn coming to mind. JoAnn just didn't pop up into the bowling industry. She started out in 1972 as a scoring monitor, kind of like some of the folks up here, keeping score by hand, monitoring tournaments. She was part of the Motor Bowl tournament. I hadn't personally heard of that, but she gave me some little history on that. It was a long-running tournament in the Detroit area, and also the Family Twosome tournament that some of you may have participated in back in the day. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse today. She worked her way up to the snack bar after she was a scoring monitor. And then she also worked at Sunnybrook, Kingswood, Liberty Lanes. So she made the tour. She was on a different kind of a tour back then. She also worked for the Strobel family at Ramona Lanes and Denby Lanes as a coat check, bartender, server. So she's done just about everything that makes her a great manager. JoAnn was a single mom when she started out in the bowling business, so getting this full-time bowling gig was really important to her. I'm sure if you asked JoAnn today what was the best part of all of this, for all the time that she started in the bowling world, she will tell you the bowlers and the people. I didn't ask her that question, but I'll guarantee you that that's one of the things that she would say, that all the people that she's met, all the friendships that she has, that's the important part of all of this. I know that because every proprietor and every manager thinks the same thing, that the bowlers, all of you, are the most important part. How great is this award where she's surrounded by all that family that loves her over there? Look at that posse she's got going over there. They're overflowing. They couldn't even fit at one table. They had to pull up on the other side. And then she's surrounded by her entire bowling family out here, because I don't think there's probably a bowler in this room that doesn't know who she is. It is with great respect that I am awarding tonight to JoAnn Taylor the George Pribola Industry Award. Very well deserved. Come on up.
Vicki, thank you for taking on the task of introducing me and presenting me this award. I could not have handpicked a better person to do that. First, let me say, as most of you know, I can talk. I tell everyone at my age, the only thing in my body that has not failed me is my mouth. Fortunately for all of you here tonight, I no longer can get my foot to my mouth. Luckily, I won't be putting it in tonight, I hope. With that, please let me say I'm extremely nervous. I know I stand in front of a microphone at the bowling center and talk to many, many bowlers, but this is different. I also know that it's the end of the evening and sounding pretty good to go home right now. So I want to congratulate all of tonight's inductees. I hope all of you are as honored as I do to join the long and impressive list of Hall of Famers that come before us and to have even been nominated, let alone selected, by the current Hall of Fame committee. Libby, I especially want to thank you. Your position in this wonderful world of bowling requires so much that to be noticed by you makes me feel very special. I have always said that I've been blessed to be in this bowling world. My business partner, Mike Lucenti, has always said that I worked hard. I truly didn't know I was supposed to do it any other way. I was given what turned out to be an opportunity of a lifetime when Mike and his wife, Pat, who I want to wish a happy belated birthday to, gave my husband, Charlie, and I the opportunity to be part of a group they were forming to buy a bowling center. I owed so much to them that I wanted to repay them by working hard. My husband, Charlie, and I just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary last month. He married a woman who loved to bowl, but eventually stopped to be in the game in a different way. If it was not for Charlie understanding how much I love bowling, I would not have been able to put in the time I did, and for that, and always being there for me, I want to say thank you and I love you. If I may take credit for doing anything great in the bowling world, I gave it my son Chris and my daughter Tina, who are far better in and for the bowling world than I have ever been. Along with them came my daughter-in-law Kamala and my son-in-law Brandon, who have put up with many hours of us being in this industry. They have let us have our time. They have joined us in the industry, but the biggest thing they did was join us in our family. I love all of you very much. I have 4 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. They mean so much to me, and like so many others up here, I have to apologize for not always being able to come to your activities. My grandson Colin, my granddaughters Brianna, Clara, and Annabella are not here tonight. Tommy surprised me and came in tonight all the way from Atlanta. Also here tonight is Allison. At this time, she is the only one bowling. She is a high school athlete whose passion to compete touches me greatly and brought many tears to my eyes last year during her high school events. Allison, one of the things I love about you is your competitive spirit. We've called it other things, but I'm going to leave it there tonight. I also have to admit, Allison, I get great enjoyment from watching your dad coach your team of all girls. That's my son, Chris. I have traveled because of bowling, been part of some unique league formats, special sponsorships, and the Hamtramck Singles Classic. But it's the love of my family, the lasting relationships with my business partners, my customers, some of my staff, and so many of you here tonight that I treasure the most. I especially want to thank Joan and Bob Lozinich, both for being beside me in so many ways through so many years. Speaking of special people, I have to acknowledge Tom McKay. When Mike told me Tom was going to be consultant for the Hamtramck Singles Classic, I trembled. Tom, in my eyes at that time, was the ultimate authority figure in bowling. Little did I know then that I was going to have the pleasure of getting to know the man who loved bowling more than I did. He was patient with me, kind to me, there whenever I needed him. And that was greatly when my mom passed away. And yet not a weekend went by without a new joke he shared with me. So to sum things up, this award goes to not only me, but also to all of the people who have allowed me to be part of this wonderful world of bowling. I hope now when I say I'm blessed, you understand why. And I am inviting all of you personally to bowl the Hamtramck Singles Classic at Wayne Bowl in 2019 for its 69th year. Lastly, please keep in your prayers the young person from Apollo Lanes who was recently attacked while just doing his job. Good night, everyone, and thank you.
Oh, JoAnn? Well, what a night it has been. Congratulations again to all of our honorees and our inductees. This has been quite an evening, and every year I notice the same common thread in your induction speeches, and I actually made notes tonight because it's every single year you hear, well, it started by watching my parents bowl, and then, oh, I started bowling when I was 5 or 6 or 7 or something along those lines, and then there was the initial failure, and then came some thrills of victory and the camaraderie. You hear about that. That's about this sport. Every year you hear people talking about teammates. The bonds that we develop in this sport are extraordinary. And then finally you hear about the sacrifices. I mean, this doesn't, and I say it every year, if you don't expect a kid that didn't play Little League and then all of a sudden decides to pick up a bat and a ball in high school, all of a sudden they're not a star baseball player on the high school baseball team. Well, it's the same thing with bowling. We need to get our kids started when they're young, make it fun, make it something they can't do without, and make it a lifelong activity. And then at that point, the sacrifices become maybe a little bit easier. But there are sacrifices to family life. And I'll just close by telling you kind of a funny story. My wife and I were up north this week, and JoAnn, our anniversary, we're 28 years. Our anniversary was last night, and it was yesterday. And we were up north. We had the plans to be up north. And then Mark said, "Hey, Paul, the Hall of Fame induction dinner is Sunday, October 14th, and I looked at my wife and I said, you know, I do this every year, and you know how much it means to me." And she just looked at me and she said, "No problem. We can leave by 11. We'll be back, and you can do it." So it's a little sacrifice, but that's something that I say this to all you families that are here. Thank you for letting them do what they do. It's a passion, it's a love for us, and yeah, there is some sacrifice, but in the end, it really fosters just a better life for us. The camaraderie and all the fun, the thrills, the victories, the winning money, the losing money, all of that. So it's been a great night, everybody. Thank you for being here, and again, thank you to all of our Hall of Famers who every year come here to make this night so extra special for our inductees. Hopefully we'll see you all again here next year. So good night.